In the heart of Panama City Beach, Florida, where the sun-drenched sands met the crystal blue waters, lived a desperate young woman named Marie. Her life had been a never-ending parade of misfortune and betrayal, and she had grown weary of it all. The world had shown her no kindness, and she hungered for revenge against those who had wronged her. Late one eerie, moonlit night, Marie found herself on a desolate stretch of beach, her eyes filled with tears of frustration and anger. She had lost her job, her home, and her friends. The world had pushed her to the brink of despair. It was then, in her darkest moment, that she heard a whisper carried on the wind, a voice that seemed to come from the very depths of the earth. "Lamashtu," it hissed, "I can grant you power, power beyond your wildest dreams, in exchange for your servitude." Marie hesitated for only a moment. Desperation had eroded her sense of reason, and the promise of power was too alluring to resist. She whispered her acceptance into the wind, sealing a dark pact with a name she barely understood. From that moment on, Marie's life took a sinister turn. The powers granted by Lamashtu were not of this world. She could summon atrocities at will, bend the will of men to her desires, and cast curses that would bring agony and suffering to her enemies. Her thirst for vengeance knew no bounds, and she unleashed her newfound abilities upon those who had wronged her. The first to feel her wrath was her former boss, who had fired her callously and without remorse. With a mere thought, Marie plunged him into a never-ending nightmare, a torment of his own making that would haunt him for the rest of his days. Next were her so-called friends, who had abandoned her when she needed them most. Marie's dark powers ensured that their lives crumbled, their happiness turned to ash, and their minds twisted with madness. No one who had crossed her path was safe. As the days turned into weeks, Marie's humanity withered away. Her once bright eyes now gleamed with malevolent satisfaction, and her heart had turned to ice. She reveled in the suffering she caused, for she had become a ruthless instrument of terror, a living nightmare. But power came at a terrible cost. Lamashtu, the ancient goddess of chaos and destruction, demanded more from Marie with each act of vengeance. She yearned for blood sacrifices and dark rituals that twisted Marie's soul even further. The very essence of her humanity was slipping away, and she was becoming something far more sinister. In her relentless pursuit of revenge, Marie alienated everyone who had ever cared for her. She had no one left to turn to, no one left to save her from the abyss she had willingly embraced. The darkness within her grew until it consumed her entirely. And so, in the end, Marie's quest for vengeance had a terrible and inevitable outcome. She had gained power, but it had come at the cost of her humanity. She had become a soulless husk, forever bound to the service of the malevolent goddess Lamashtu. As the years passed, her name became a whispered legend in Panama City Beach, a cautionary tale of the dangers of making deals with the darkness. The beach that had once been her home now shunned her, and her footsteps left only shadows in the sand. Marie had achieved her revenge, but it had come at the ultimate price, the loss of her very soul, leaving her forever trapped in a nightmare of existence, a pawn of the merciless goddess she had unwittingly pledged herself to.